Hi, I'm Nick from Be Thankful Farm. It's the first week in May and it's been a cool, dry spring. This has allowed me to work the soils a little quicker than usual. And we're watching soil temperatures now closely and we're getting ready for planting. Due to the current social distancing guidelines, I've been unable to give tours to members, new and old, this spring. So I thought I'd give you a quick look around at what we're currently up to. This is probably the most important spot in the farm right here. This is the compost pile, or the compost production system we have going on here. It's the beginning and the end of all the plants. It's the alpha and the omega. The nutrients come from here, from the finished compost, and then that leftover plant material ends up back in here to be recycled again. And at the same time, we're feeding the pile from our animals, so we have all the shavings from the stall in addition to the horse manure. When you're anything from the farm, old straw piles, straw from goat beds, ends up here, and this is really raw. You can see some old plants here still decomposing. So it takes time, but we'll roll it all up, and then we'll flip it over, and it's over here. So here's last fall's pile. We flipped it, continues this cooking process, and then from here I take and flip it a third time down there, and spread it out again. At that point, it's completed. And the part that's in the end now, I can come through. I left a gate in the fence purposely just for the compost, so I can come in that gate, in that big fence, and come from behind here and grab the finished stuff and then bring it out and distribute it throughout the farm. Sometimes if I have leftover, I can even stack it down below. I have another pile bigger than this one of finished compost ready to be distributed this spring. So really, this is it. This is the most important place. Everything starts from here. Everything ends up in here, no matter where it is on the farm. This is the communal place, and it's really works quite well. And we set it up, as you can see, on a hill, so I can just basically keep rolling these piles with the tractor and just rolling them down the hill until they're down at the bottom.
So that compost pile back there is 3 years old?
That's completely done, maybe 2.5 years old, that pile down there. And so that will come out and be distributed.
Excellent.
Yeah, it is. Our growing area is divided up into small fields here on Be Thankful Farm, or gardens. And in each of them, we grow select plants. No field is bigger than 1/4 of an acre here. We just have several of them spread around, and we can then rotate crops from one field to the next, outsmarting insects and fungal diseases, and replenishing soils by rotating crops. By having multiple gardens, it facilitates that. It makes it easier to do that. This garden here is field 1, and it's been set up now for greens. So we'll be growing greens in this field for a couple of years now. We don't have to rotate on a yearly basis. So this field here has just been busted up, and it's drying out nice. It's that time of year where it's all about soil moisture. How much can we get on it? How much can we work the soil? It has to be a little bit dry. It's been a little dry this spring, so it's allowed me to get on the soil. I think I'm a little bit ahead in my tilling so far. I wanted to show you this crop here. These are chives. A lot of people have chives in their yards. And these chives are really nice. And at this time, this is where I think that they're nice and soft, and they're silky, and they're most flavorful. So we want to harvest these off. We can't wait till the first harvest generally, which is in June, which will be our first main harvest when we have lettuces and such. We want to do an early harvest here, a bonus harvest, if you will, and we're going to chop these off and pass this out to you folks this weekend, as well as the greens up here. I want to show them to you. There's an experiment that I did this fall that turned out quite well. We were able to overwinter some crops. This is some of the best soil that I have on the farm. This little block right here, right on top of the hill. We're on top of Thankful Bee Hill, it's called, here in Deerfield. And the glacier just so happened to leave this really nice soil here. It's called a Paxton Fine Sandy Loam. And it's a soil of agricultural importance. Most of this in Deerfield is on South Road. We got a nice amount of it here too. It was left for us. And you can see how it's nice and sandy. You can see how it's nice sandy, very friable. Just the right mixture to be called the loam soil. And it's really pretty rock-free, because I've been gardening this the longest west, so you can just plant stuff anywhere without worrying about rocks. This whole property here was there was no open fields. We've been clearing all of this since we got here in '93, one field at a time.
So this was the first one you cleared?
This was field one. This was the first one. Yep. So I've worked this one the most. Now I wanted to show you the results here of I was doing a little trial or experiment where I wanted to see if I could get some plants I planted last fall through the winter, to overwinter them. Commonly done around here, that type of experiment. So, but what I used was a piece of polypropylene covering on top of it that's commonly used. They're white, and on top of that I put this straw. So they had a really nice blanket, and they survived. And 2 times during the winter, usually they suffocate under there during the January thaws, when it gets hot in the winter, I have found. So this time I took the straw off and took the cover off and let the plants breathe for like a week at a time on a couple of occasions in the winter, then put the covers back on when it got cold again, and then took it off in the spring, and they've regrown. And these plants look beautiful. They're really beautiful. This is mustard greens right here, and we've been eating this, me and Carol, and it's just delicious, so we want to share this with you. This is about as good as I could have hoped for them to grow. You can see here now they're starting to flower. They're starting to flower because they're that old a plant. At this point, they're going to the flowering stage. That's when you know it's about time to harvest them. That these plants are letting me know that. So we're going to chop this off too. We're going to haircut this off, harvest this right down to the ground, and pass that out to you this weekend. And here is the real prize. This is red Russian kale, and it is so soft you can eat this raw. This is not that green kale that you really have to chew, that only cows really can eat. And this is so delicious. Red Russian kale, soft and sweet. We planted it in the fall, overwintered it. It did a really nice grow back, but being biennial now, it now wants to flower. So what it's doing is throwing up these cute little flower buds. And it's right, the buds are just ready to pop. So a few have popped here just today. They're just the only ones. They weren't, yesterday they weren't here. So I waited till the perfect moment because these buds are delicious. This is called Rob, R-A-A-B. You've heard of broccoli Rob. The Rob is the flower bud. So this is kale Rob. So the whole plant is edible. All these stems, these buds are delicious. Yeah, so some of them did better than others, but overall there's quite a bit of it. Now there's another plant down here too though. Here was another trial with the arugula bed, which was planted in the fall. And again, it's flowering. It flowered a little earlier than the other ones. This tells you really got to get them harvested now, especially with the arugula, because these stems start to get tough. Some of these bigger stems you might actually take out of this saute, but most of it is really, really good. So we'll harvest this out too. So we'll pass that out. We'll call this a success, and we'll give you a little quick taste of things to come.
So what's going to grow in this field? This is field number 2?
This is field 2, and now this is an onion bed. What I did was I've done all the soil testing on this, and we had to add some phosphorus to get it just right, and we did that, and it's been tilled. So we'll be planting some onions in these 2, and we're going to add a 3rd bed this year. 3 different types of onions, and we grow the big red onion, a big Walla onion. I think we got some of those, and then a storage onion, Patterson, with a tight shell. Let me show you this. A quick first look at this, Wes. You got a white plastic on the ground here, and we have a couple more rows of it over there. Because what we're trying to do here, and we do a lot of this on the farm, is try to modify the environment if we can towards our advantage. I find you can grow them right through the summer if you use this white plastic. That keeps the ground cool. And you can reuse it 2 years. After that, it has to be taken out and removed. And then you want to take it off anyway, because at that point you want to retill the soil, make sure the nutrients are right. Quick look at this. This is an irrigation tool, how you irrigate underneath that plastic. I can put nutrients through this. I can put water through this, and there's no evaporation. All the nutrients go directly to the plant. Yeah, Wes. So as you can see, we're modifying the temperature here again when we're trying to heat it up. I've got this black plastic now. We're growing. We got a trellis here, and I put these plastics with the water permeable plastics. Used in the horticulture industry on either side. They block weeds, but most importantly, they heat the soil. This soil in here, remember, I think it was 44 over there, and in this bed, we're at about 54. So that's amazing. We've got about a 10-degree difference in soil temperature from there to here, because we're experimenting this year with a new compostable plastic. Just plow it into the ground, and it's made of plant material. Stop here. But just the highlight here.
Is this field number 3?
This is our third field. This is field 3. It's larger, so we get more space here. And you can right off the bat, you can see 2 long white rows here. And we'll be putting Brussels sprouts in this row, and we'll have more broccoli down in this row, so we can nonstop. But the real exciting part on this field is this is a brand new strawberry bed. I grew it extra wide. It's a brand new matted row of strawberries, and we get a little overflow of plants there as well. So this is going to be a really good producer. It's its first season. Well, we've got some Sparkle, all the favorites, Early Glow, Jewel, all your favorites. They're really sweet. They're not big. They're dark red varieties I go for. Smaller, with the kingberries even a smaller, but just that dark red all the way through. This field also is where we'll be growing some corn. These 3 rows here, I grow the corn on this plastic, heats the soil again, and there's no weed competition. And we can grow some really fine corn right here, sweet corn. I really want to stagger it so that we can have a few harvests. I don't want it all to come at once. I could be planting this within a week or so. We can get the first ones in. Okay, let's take a quick look at the orchard here for a moment. The orchard should be in full production. Last year was our first commercial production, and the apples were fantastic. And this year, we should have twice as many apples, I'm predicting. We've got 45 apple trees here. Here, just take a quick look at one. Here is a Jonathan apple tree. This will be the first apple tree to produce. These are the very early varieties. It's an old heirloom type of an apple. It's not a big and beautiful apple, they're kind of small, but they've got just that special flavor that makes them, I think, my favorite, even with all the other great apples that are in line behind it. I just found partial to this one. I want you to notice on the pruning, the trees are now the right age, and we've been able to get the proper pruning with branches coming out level from the tree. It should look like a Christmas tree when it's properly pruned. If you look around, wide open branches, so there's good sun penetration. That's what it's all about, is getting the sunlight down into the tree so it can hit the fruit buds. The fruit buds have to have full sun in order to produce an apple. So it's all about light penetration. Also, obviously, it also lets air penetration in, which prevents disease, fungal disease. And the last thing I'll mention on that is, you might notice, Wes, there's a slight blue tinge on this tree, like it's got a slight blue color, and that's because I put copper on this tree this spring when these buds started to swell. Copper's been used for centuries. It's a relatively non-toxic way of killing the funguses that want to eat these fresh tissues. As they open up, all kinds of blights, stem blights and fire blights are out there, which will destroy your potential to have a good harvest. So you can get by with this copper right up till the bloom, and then after the bloom is over, you never ever spray a bloom. And it'll do a good job of keeping funguses down. I want to take a notice here for a second at the orchard floor. Okay, we planted it out with a dwarf fescue grass, which is very slow growing and doesn't require a lot of water. It's very drought tolerant, so it doesn't compete too directly with your trees, and it won't die in the summertime. And it helps keep down other plants you might not want growing in here, large weeds. But this is not a weed. These are dandelions, and we encourage their growth, and I make sure I don't mow them down in the spring because they're a very important pollen and nectar source for my honeybees, which are right here in the orchard, and for all the wild bees as well. So if you can leave your dandelions alone and let them bloom, all the wild pollinators are always very happy for that. And I encourage it as you look through here too. It's like a whole orange carpet on the floor. I think it's beautiful, and the bees love it. And then the bees are already in the orchard, and just as the dandelions are done, the apple blossoms open, and the bees just move up into the apple trees, and you get this perfect bloom, perfect pollination with your bees. So yeah, so that's a crop, that's not a weed. Let's take a quick look at field 4 over here. We've got some nice trellising set up already from last year. That's a time saver. So we've got about 120 feet of trellis at different heights. Real tall one back there, because we're going to grow some big, giant, yellow broad beans called Marvel of Venice. We've grown those in a tremendous bean, 8 foot tall. We'll probably grow some cucumbers on this trellis this season here. And we grow a lot of peppers on these 2 black rows. In here with the heat, to reduce the heat, we'll grow peppers here. This row here has a cover crop on it, This is hairy vetch, and it's a legume, so it adds nitrogen to the soil. So it's a great cover, and it keeps the soil covered in the winter. So I'll plow this in or rototill it in this season, because we'll add a third row. This nice deep soil here, we've got a lot of soil. Is you can probably maybe guess that this is a good place for growing potatoes, and it is. So it's potato beds, nice and deep. We have great potato yields, and we'll add a third row here this year. And I like to grow the purple potatoes, and I like to grow the golden Yukon Gold type called Satina. It's superior, I think, to the Yukon Gold. So we'll grow a whole bunch of those here too.
Oh, nice and warm in here.
Isn't it? This is environmental modification here. This is called a high tunnel. It's 88 feet by long by 28 feet wide. There's no furnace in here, but you sure do get great just passive solar heating here. It's just plastic over these metal bows, these wooden end walls. And it is so warm in here right now. And taking a quick look at the soil temperature here, and we're right in the optimal range, and it's 72 degrees soil temperature, and you know, there's no added furnace. So the air temperature is probably right now 78 or 80 in here, and I just keep water on these leeks, and it looks like this experiment worked well also. It was a little trial. I wanted to see if I could overwinter them, and would they do some regrowing in the spring enough to eat, and it looks like they are. They're thickening up, and we'll just keep watering them, and this we might be eating the results of this little trial also. That would be nice. But this building here, also we can use it for our starters. So we've got plug plants here started, and we're just using the solar heat, and it'll get the soil very warm in these little plug trays, and we can get some more baby plants here. That will be moved out in the field. This building will be the home of the tomatoes. Tomatoes love it in here, and the eggplants will be in here. They're subtropical plants. They want that heat, and we get tremendous growth of the tomato crop in this heat. It's really wonderful. Maximum growth, maximum yields. Well, thanks for taking a look around. It's not the same as a real tour, but we're really looking forward to the season beginning in June. We're going to produce for you the best, cleanest, freshest produce that you could get anywhere. And we're going to deliver it to you in a really safe manner, taking all the proper social distancing guidelines as well. I'm looking forward to seeing you all from a distance, and hopefully closer as the season progresses. Take care.